So today we're going to be dealing with degrees, and tomorrow we're going to be dealing with radian measure, and you have these problems to do, the page 267, 21 to 35 odds, 39, 41, 47, 49. We're going to go through some of those today, but you got to make sure today we're dealing mainly with degrees. Tomorrow will be mainly with radians, but they're both going to be used for the rest of the year. So please make sure you ask any questions. And again, Friday, we're having a 4.1 quiz where you'll take that online. So this is something you should recognize from algebra, but this is the X and Y quadrants, and there's some things you need to know about this. So I hope you're going to take some notes at home, and I'm going to show you this. First is we need to know that quadrant 1 is in the upper right-hand quadrant where both X and Y are positive. And I'm going to be doing a whole bunch of different things on this graph, so you might have to make more than one. And then this is quadrant 2 over here, and that is where X is negative and Y is positive. And down here is quadrant 3, and this is where X and Y are both negative. And then we have quadrant 4 over here where X is positive and Y is negative. So hopefully that's major review from Algebra 1 in every class you've ever taken, but you're going to have to tell where some angles are in here. Notice I've already put a 0 degrees over here, and the reason I've already put a 0 degrees over there is because when we go on the positive x-axis, that is called the standard angle position, and that's where you always start, is on the positive x-axis. So some more notes you need to do as we go. Hope you all know about a clock. If you have a clock here where this is 12 and 6 is down here, that the time runs this way, that's called clockwise direction. And if you go the opposite way, that's called counterclockwise. So when we go counterclockwise, those give us positive angles. And if we go clockwise from the x-axis, that will give us negative angles. So you need to know that you're going to start at the positive x-axis, and if you go positive, you are going to go in a counterclockwise to the clock, and if you go negative, you're going to go clockwise to the clock. Okay, so some things we need to know are, hopefully we know that the x and y axis are perpendicular. So if this is 0 degrees and we get up here, this y-axis is 90 degrees. And then as we go to the negative x-axis, this will be 180 degrees. Down here at the negative y-axis, this is 270 degrees. And then when you get back all the way around the circle, I hope you know if you go all the way around the circle, it's 360 degrees. And you can go around this thing as many times as you need, and your angles can be greater than 360 the more you go, and they can be less than 360. So that's something that's kind of a big deal here, and we're going to be estimating what angles are in degrees, and we're going to be estimating or drawing pictures of angles of special ones, and we're going to find what quadrants the angles are in. But this again is going to be a general deal here of angles. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you what a radian is today, even though we're not dealing much with radians. But a radian is if I could make a perfect circle up here, which I cannot, and I have a radius, some radius here going out to the circle, that's a radius. Now if I could take that radius, I could take this radius right here and I could peel it off the paper. If I could pick it up off the paper, and I could take that radius and take it and lay it where it starts here at 0 and lay it on the circle and fold it around the circle so that that was the length of one radius. That blue part right there, that is called, what we call it when we put it on a circle is a radian. That's one radian, and we're used to seeing these in pi. So halfway around, I hope you remember that circumference equals 2 pi r. Y'all remember that? So the radius is 1, the circumference is 2 pi. So what that means is 360 and 2 pi are equal, which means 180 is going to be equal to 1 pi. Now, we're going to get more into this tomorrow, but we need to know 180 and pi are the same, and we're going to be changing from degrees to radians today. So I have a little formula that I do that, and that is degrees. I do a proportion. Degrees are to 180 as radians are to pi. And the reason this works is because pi and 180 are equal. So I can put a degree measure in here and change it to radians, or I can put a radian measure in here and change it to degrees by getting rid of the other part with it. Now, I keep having, some of you guys keep coming in here. I need you guys to be here on time. Some of you are like 7 minutes late just getting here. You need to get here before 7:30. I appreciate you coming, and I'm glad you're here, but I need you to get here because when I start teaching, I don't stare at my who's waiting in line to get in. So try to get here on time if you could. So we're going to use this information I've already talked about, and we are going to go over here and we're going to do some homework problems. So I'm going to do 22 and 24. So this says estimate what you think this angle is, degree angle. So I hope we could see that if I went straight up from here, that would be a 90-degree angle. And we're going counterclockwise, so that makes this positive. And it looks like to me that's about 30 past that. So I would estimate this to be about 120 degrees. And again, okay, I'll look into that stuff you guys are sending me. And then this one is a negative angle, so I hope you can see that if I went up to here, I'm sorry, this is a positive because it's going counterclockwise, or sorry, negative because it's going clockwise. If I went straight up here for 90 degrees, so that would be negative 270 to there, and then this looks like about halfway between there, which is going to be 45 more degrees because they're 90 degrees. So I would call this negative 315 degrees because it's about 45 degrees from a whole circle going back to that same x-axis. Okay, so you're going to be doing these two problems like that. And then over here it says, tell which quadrant these are in. So negative 8.3 degrees. Well, if I start at 0, which is here, and I know this is negative 90 when I'm going clockwise this way, negative 8.3 is going to be like right in here somewhere. So this would be quadrant. Oops, wait a minute. I don't want to do that one. I'm supposed to do 20. Sorry. We're going to do this one, negative 132. So I know that going to here is negative 90. And if I went all the way to there, it would be negative 180. So negative 132 is in this quadrant somewhere, which if you do go back from what I just did before, this would be quadrant 3. And you're going to use Roman numerals. You're going to draw 3 capital I's together for those because that's how we do those. And then this says 3.4, and that's a positive, so that means we're going counterclockwise, and that's 90, so I hope you know that 3.4 is between 0 and 90, so this would be the first quadrant. Again, first quadrant, second quadrant, third quadrant, fourth quadrant, just like in Algebra 1, same quadrants. Coming down here says sketch an angle. So we're going to take these angles they give us and we're going to sketch something like this. You must draw the arrow to be a positive or a negative. So number 28 says 135 degrees. So if I'm going to do number 28, I have to go here plus 45 more, which would be halfway between those two in quadrant 2. I would draw a line up there and then you would put the angle 135 degrees from where you started. So we always start at this positive x-axis, that's called an angle in standard position, and we draw a ray over here where this stops. And you always go counterclockwise when it's positive, so that's this one. Now this says negative 170, so I'm always going to start at 0, and then I've got to start going around the graph. So when I go around, and you're going to start going around, and I go all the way around, there's a negative 360 to there. But I got to keep going. If I go another negative 360, that's negative 720 to here. And then I've got to go 30 more degrees. So then I would have my angle coming here. So if I would write down negative 750 degrees. So you have to show me that you're going around the circle more times than once when you have an angle greater than 360 or less than negative 360. Because remember, we're going counterclockwise when they're negative. And you keep going around forever. So what I basically did was I just kept counting as I went around here. Let's see, 90 more would be negative 540, negative 630, negative 720, and I went 30 more degrees past that, which is where the negative 750 comes from. All right, and then complementary and supplementary. Some people get these mixed up, complementary, supplementary angles. So the way I remember them is alphabet. C comes before S in the alphabet. So complementary angles are two angles that add up to equal 90, because 90 comes before. This one, supplementary, two angles that add up to equal 180. So C comes before S in the alphabet, just like 90 comes before 180 in the in numbers on the number line. So complements add up, two angles that add up to 90, supplement two angles that add up to 180 degrees. So if I come down here, I'm going to just do number 32. I'm only going to do A. So A, maybe I'm going to do a different one too. So this says 46 degrees. So if I want to get my complement to this, so my complement is going to equal 90 minus 46. So when you take 90 minus 46, you're going to get 44 degrees. So that's, oops, I don't know why I put 2 degree symbols there. So 44 degrees would be the complement. When you do a supplement, you're going to get 180 minus the given angle. So when you take 180 minus this, you're going to get 134 degrees. So that would be the supplement. I'm going to do part B because B says 93 degrees. So when I get the complement, you get 90 minus 93, which is negative 3 degrees. You are not allowed to call it, complementary angles have to be between 0 and 90. So a complementary angle has to be between 0 and 90. And a supplementary angle has to be between 0 and 180. Okay? So you cannot have a negative, so we would say none for the complement. And then for the supplement, we're going to get 180 minus 93. And we would end up getting 87 degrees would be our supplement. So there's those problems. Now, converting from degrees to radians, and this one is converting from degrees to radians. We're doing both of these together. Now, they both say, well, this one doesn't. This one says leave your answer in pi is what this means. Multiple of pi means leave your answer in pi. And this one says round these decimal places to 3 decimal places means we're not going to leave pi in the answer for these. So when I come up here, I'm going to do, I'm going to erase all this stuff. So I'm going to do number 36, which says A equals A is negative 60 degrees. And we want to change that into radians. So for you guys that got here late, I gave you a formula that degrees is to 180 as radians is to pi. So this is in degrees, so we're going to put that in there for D for degrees. So we get negative 60 over 180 equals R over pi. So these zeros reduce because they're both divisible by 10, and then 6 and 18 are divisible by 6, so we get negative 1/3 equals R over pi. So I would reduce the fractions first, and then we're going to take pi and multiply it times 1, and we get negative pi thirds is what R equals. So the radian measure is negative pi thirds. Whenever you see a measurement that has pi in it, it is in radians. Whenever you have a little circle up here, it is in the function is in degrees. So you you must put degrees for degrees, because if you don't put that on there, that is now going to mean radians. So please make sure you do that. So that's how you do these problems up here. So again, you just stick the degree over 180 and then you solve for R, and you want to simplify these fractions. Your calculator will do this for you, so I'm going to show you this real quick. Let me get my camera up here. So if you take your calculator, if you look over here to the right of the screen over there, over here, it's got negative 60 over 180. So if I turn my calculator on and I hit alpha y equals 1 to get a fraction bar, and I type in negative 60 over 180 and I hit enter. Usually that will reduce it to a fraction for me, but it's a decimal. So if I hit math, and if you look, number 1 says change to a fraction. I hit enter, and it's going to take that decimal answer and change to a fraction. So there's my negative 1/3 that I got on the screen up there, way over there to the right, where I got the r over pi equals negative 1/3, and then you multiply the pi over. So your calculator will change things to fractions for you. Okay, then, now again, this said to leave in terms of pi means pi must be in your answer. So I'm going to do number 40 here. Number 40 says negative 48.27 degrees. So just like up here, I'm going to put that up over 180, and then that is going to equal r over pi. So all I'm going to do now, this says round to 3 decimal places, which means pi is not going to be in my answer. So I'm going to multiply my pi over to the other side. And that's going to be my radians, but I'm going to type this on my calculator. So I'm going to show you where those buttons are right now. So you're going to take your calculator and you're going to go negative 47.28, and then you're above the caret button right here, and above it is the pi. So you hit second caret, and there's the pi, and then you're going to divide that by 180, and you hit enter, and it changes the pi into decimal form for you. So we would say this is the radian measure is about negative 0.825. And if you want, you can put radians here, but if you don't put degrees, that means it's in radians. So that's what you're doing on this part. And then down here at the bottom is total calculator. I'm going to show you 2 ways to do this one. I'm going to do number 48. And this is kind of weird, but I'm going to show you 2 ways to do this, and I think the second way is better, but I'm going to show you where these buttons are on your calculator. Okay, so we're going to change that on our calculator. So let me get my camera back up here. A little closer here. Hopefully you guys can see that all right. So I'm going to type in 135. Now, if you look right above the apps button, kind of diagonal down from there, it says apps right here. Right above that, it's got angle. I hope you can all see that. So I'm going to hit second angle. Now, number one right there is a degree symbol. So I'm going to hit the number 1. So if you look, that gave me 135. Then I'm going to type in 10. And I'm going to hit the angle again. So I hit second apps. And the second one there is minutes. So I'm going to hit the number 2. That's 1 tick mark, means minutes. And then I need 36 seconds, and this is the total weirdo one right here. So seconds is not where you would think. It's not there with the angles. I have no idea why they did that. But if you look at the plus sign down here in green, there's 2 tick marks. In green, that is the second. So what I do is I hit alpha, and then I hit that plus sign, and if you look right there, it gave me seconds. Then when I hit enter, that is the decimal degrees. So that would be 135.177. Now the angle should stay, whatever the angle is, 0.177. And you put a degree symbol in there, and this is decimal degrees, which is this approximated to 3 places. Okay, now I'm going to show you another way to do this. And minutes and seconds, by the way, are ways to break down angles. So I guess I don't need a circle. So if I could take and put 1 degree on here, if I said that was 1 degree, now that's way too big for 1 degree. And then I could zoom in on that 1 degree, and I'm going to say this is 1 degree here. If I could put 60 equal tick marks in here, 60 equal tick marks, 1 degree equals 60 minutes. 1 degree equals 60 minutes. So if I could put 60 equal tick marks in there, that would make each one would be 1 minute. And then 1 minute, and by the way, 1 tick mark means minute. If you didn't know, I didn't say that. This is degrees, this is minutes, this is seconds. That's minutes. 2 tick marks are seconds. So if I could take 1 minute and break it up into 60 more seconds, that means 1 minute equals 60 seconds. So if I could take one of these little tick marks and break 60 more in there, as you can tell, that's getting really precise. So this was a way to get very precise on something. So what this tells me is that 1 degree is 60 seconds. It's 60 minutes. It's 3,600 seconds. So 1 degree is 60 minutes, and 60 minutes or 1 degree is 3,600. So there's another way to get this answer. So the other way to get this answer, if you don't want to go look for all those other problems, is you would put, since minutes are out of 60, you put that 10 over 60, and you put this 36 over 3,600 because that's the seconds, and there's 3,600 in every degree. So I'm going to show you on my calculator that if I type that in, I'm going to get the exact same answer that I just had right above there. So if I say 135 plus 10 divided by 60 plus 36 divided by 3,600 and hit enter, it gives me the exact same decimal that I had right above it. I think that way right there is the fastest way to do that kind. That way you don't have to go looking for the minutes and seconds button. And then the last kind of problem we have is changing from decimal degrees. So we're going to do the opposite. We're going to go from decimal degrees back up here. And it says we want to convert each angle into degrees, minutes, seconds form. So we're going to do this. We'll do both of these because they're fairly fast. So I'm going to do 50, both problem 50s here. So you're going to take, and we're going to type that angle in there just like it shows. And let me move this over so I can see it. Okay, so I'm going to type in 345.12. Now that's decimal degrees. Now again, you're going to have to get up here where it says angle right there. So you're going to hit second apps. Oops, hit the wrong button, sorry. 345.12. And we're going to hit second apps. And if you look at number 4, that says change to degrees, minutes, seconds. So I'm going to hit the number 4, and then I hit enter, and I would write this as 345 degrees, 7 minutes, and 12 seconds. I'm going to do this one as well, part B. So I'm going to put my camera back up there, and I'm going to type in negative 3.58, and then I'm going to hit second apps 4, hit enter, and this angle right here would be negative 3 degrees, 34 minutes, and 48 seconds. Now something I should show you real quick is I'm going to take this back from this form back to decimal form. So something you need to realize that if this is a negative here, all of these values are negative. So if you do like that last thing I just showed you on your on the calculator right up here, using the fraction thing to get this 135.177 right here, this one, you got to make everything negative. So you put -3 minus, and then you put 34 divided by 60, and then minus 48 divided by 3600, and then that will give us the decimal degrees again. So if you see that, that number is the same as what we started with. So if you get a negative angle, you got to make everything minuses. You must use a negative on the first one and then minus on the rest. So that's what your homework is. Does anybody have any questions about any of that stuff? Okay, so you guys that came late, try to get here before 7:30. This is your homework right here, and we were mainly dealing with degrees today, and tomorrow we're going to do radians. So if I don't have any questions, I'm going to call it a day.